this letter, it unfortunately and inadvertently by the Department of Ag caused confusion, which then turned into I don't want to say hysteria, but my phone has not stopped ringing because they're asking for our opinion here at Pennsylvania Hemp Research.
That's Corey Fitze. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Pennsylvania Hemp Research Laboratories, which is a hemp testing lab in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Harlock, and on today's show, we check in with Corey about the controversy that was happening last week. You remember the letter that the State Department of Ag issued concerning THC testing? CBD growers were confused at best, outraged at worst. They were afraid they were going to lose their crop or their investment or their profits. But we check in with Corey about this, get his perspective, and he assures us that the sky is not falling. And just this week, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture issued another letter to hemp permit holders trying to clarify the testing issue. So we will discuss that too. And then we're going to talk about the Penn State field day that happened just last night out in Lancaster County. But first, a few nuggets of hemp-related news. Okay, first up, the Associated Press reported last week that Ohio Governor Mike Dewine has signed a bill that allows for the cultivation of industrial hemp and legalizes the manufacture and sale of CBD products derived from the plant. Congratulations, Ohio. Welcome to the hemp revolution. I think we all expect great things from the Buckeye State. Okay, next up. This is also quoting from the Associated Press, who say that work has begun on creating the nation's only hemp seed bank in New York's Finger Lakes region. The Industrial Hemp Germplasm Repository, as it's called, will be established at Cornell University's Agricultural Research Facility in Geneva. The seed bank will help breeders and geneticists develop new varieties of industrial hemp while also helping identify genes for pest and disease resistance. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that previous podcast guest Dr. Larry Smart from Cornell is heavily involved in this. So go team. Good job. All right, and finally, last week we heard from Dr. Steve Groff from Groff, North America, who just announced that his company is acquiring Canadian Greenfield Technologies, the maker of the hemp train. Well, Steve invited me out to an event he was having at Windridge Farms out in Dallastown, York County. He was giving a lecture on the health benefits of industrial hemp. And I got there early and was fortunate enough to take a tour of the new facilities where the hemp train will be. And then we drove on out to some hemp fields, and I saw the largest field of hemp that I've ever seen in person. It was about 100 acres. And yeah, I believe I caught a glimpse of the future right there. You know, next time you're driving around back roads and you have corn stalks on one side and soybeans on the other, fast forward 10 years and picture tall, thick, green hemp fields as far as the eye can see. Right? You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so last week we talked about the consternation among CBD growers here in Pennsylvania concerning the THC testing protocols that are put forth by the State Department of Agriculture. I heard from a bunch of farmers, and one of them suggested I get in touch with Corey Fitze from the Pennsylvania Hemp Research Laboratories. So I did. Corey, welcome to the show. Can you explain the issue for us from your point of view?
Sure. So to sum up, I think what many growers are saying is when they picked the strain of hemp, they were concentrating on THC Delta 9. There's also another cannabinoid inside of hemp that is THCA. And there are several different methods to test for how much Delta 9 is inside of plant material. One of those is using an HPLC, and the other is a GC, a gas chromatographer. Okay. And in the letter that the state sent out last week, there was some confusion on whether the labs had to use a GC to seek how much Delta 9 was inside of the sample, or if other proven methods that have been validated and gone through proficiency tests would also be acceptable. Mm-hmm. And in speaking with Sarah Pickle of the Department of Health, this morning, she confirmed to me that any validated method, including an HPLC, is acceptable, and that they were trying to send out a memo to all permittee holders before the event in Mannheim that Penn State University is hosting this evening.
Right.
However, I believe their legal team is reviewing it as we speak. So I've just been getting an awful lot of phone calls because of the GC, the gas chromatographer, uses heat and trying to keep it as simple as possible. It is going to heat your plant material.
Right.
As you heat that plant material, your THCA is going to give off carbon dioxide and transfer to THC delta 9.
Okay.
And so a lot of farmers were very, very concerned on that because of I believe that they didn't have the full understanding of how Pennsylvania was going to be doing the testing when they procured their seeds at the beginning of the year.
Right. Although the state, however, they say that they have not changed their testing protocol at all, that they're using the same method this year that they used last year and the year before that.
I think part of the confusion, though, was so last year was pre-Farm Bill, so was the year prior to that.
Sure.
The testing that, and I was I farmed hemp last year, as I am doing this year as well. The testing, we just got the results from the state. So I believe the state tested all 54 or 50-some growers last year. In the letter, the way I interpreted it was the state was only going to get out to approximately 25% of the field,
right,
and was mandating the hemp grower to go out and find a laboratory and have that laboratory send the Delta 9 THC percentage directly to the Department of Ag. So I don't believe, I don't want to say there's been a mountain made out of a molehill. However, I'd say the letter was, we have a lot of farmers that have invested a lot of money around the Commonwealth, and a large portion of that was just the cost of seed or clones or clippings that they then planted. And I think this letter, it's already a stressful time for the farmers. This is a new crop. There isn't, a lot of tried and true methods out there. This isn't something that they can, go next door to a farmer across the street and say, I'm experiencing this problem. How can we help?
Right.
Or how can you help me? This is really a new frontier for the Pennsylvania farmer. And even methods out of maybe Oregon or Washington, difference in altitude, difference in climate is going to make a specific variety react very differently. So I think this letter, it unfortunately and inadvertently by the Department of Ag caused confusion, which then turned into, I don't want to say hysteria, but my phone has not stopped ringing because they're asking for our opinion here at Pennsylvania Hemp Research. And what they need to understand is we are a laboratory, and our job is to turn out the most accurate data in the quickest period of time, offering the best customer service.
Right.
The rules and the regulations are not drafted by us, and quite frankly, it really doesn't. And we can put together scientific arguments on why we believe one test is acceptable, and so might another test be acceptable. However, it's up to the Department of Health. And again, from what I'm hearing from the Department of Health, from Sarah Pickle, who was involved with the program last year as well, there will be a memo going out shortly to the farmers. They're the permittees. But I think there's also a lot of confusion because of underneath some permits, you're finding a vast number of farmers. So if the state can only communicate it to the permittee holder, it is, the farmers working underneath that permit can't blame the Department of Department of Agriculture on not having that communicated. All they know is where the fields are. They don't know, they potentially wouldn't know, what farmer is under what permit.
Right, and who to contact.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, there's something like 300 and some permits, but there's almost 900 grow locations. So yeah.
Correct. And under the the gentleman that you spoke to this morning that gave you my phone number, I mean, just under his, I think he has 50 some people that are growing or different fields, and it's,
sure.
It's the permittee's obligation to make sure that they are abiding by the regulations. And, what we are focused on is making sure we deliver any data to the Department of Ag in a form that is how they request it.
Right.
So we have questions too, and hopefully we learn more tonight in Mannheim.
Right. Well, I will actually see you out there. Corey, could you introduce yourself for me?
Sure. My name is Corey Fitze, Corey Fitze, Fitze. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Pennsylvania Hemp Research Laboratories.
Okay, and you're in the Lehigh Valley?
We're in Allentown, Pennsylvania, yes, sir.
And you are, an accredited testing lab where farmers could reach out to you and get their samples tested?
Absolutely, and we'll all have, 8 or 9 staff at the event tonight. If you see anyone with a shirt on that says and then it's a Leaf Science, introduce yourself and they'll flag me down, and I'm happy to talk to you further.
All right, great.
But the most important thing is, in my opinion, to use a reputable lab, and a lab that this is not their first rodeo on working on hemp, because it is a new crop, and there are a lot of different scientific techniques that can be used, some better than others.
So just to real quick get back to the state testing, so it's less of an issue than people thought it was last week. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, the short answer is yes. I received confirmation this morning that if the laboratory that the farmer selects needs to use a validated method and report directly to the state that what the percentage of THC Delta 9 is.
Okay.
And it does not sound to me like the state is changing the rules of the game with that understanding that I received this morning.
Got it. So everything's going to be fine. The sky is not falling.
The sky is not falling, and this is, I think, as I said earlier, there's a lot of nerves in this space right now just because of a lot of people have a lot of money tied up in it. Right. And farming's an art form, and there's going to be some farms that are very successful, and unfortunately others are not. But I think the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture has actually really encouraged a good quality program, and I think that's why you see so much enthusiasm and so many people that wanted to get involved early on.
All right, that's Corey Fitze from Pennsylvania Hemp Research Laboratories in Allentown. I will have a link to their business on the webpage for this episode. And so he mentioned a clarifying letter coming from the state. I have a copy of that. I'm going to read that to you now just to make sure everyone has all the available information. You ready? All right, here goes. So this is dated August 6, 2019. Subject is clarification of July 24th letter on hemp variety THC testing. It's to the 2019 hemp permit holders. It's from the PDA hemp program team. Dear 2019 hemp permit holder, the purpose of this letter is to provide some clarification on the hemp variety THC testing information, which was shared in the department's letter you received dated July 24. There have been some questions expressed to the hemp program by permit holders regarding the testing method contained in that letter, which we will address. First, to provide some explanation on why the department conducts the testing it does, the following excerpts from state law, the PDA, hemp permit/contract, and federal law specify the following. Number 1, the PA Industrial Hemp Research Act definition. Industrial hemp, the plant cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, whether growing or not, with a delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. What does the Act say about testing? It gives the department powers and duties to develop and implement permitting requirements and regulations if necessary to carry out the provisions of this chapter. It does not designate a testing procedure. Number 2, the 2019 PA Industrial Hemp Program permit/contract signed by every 2019 Pennsylvania permit holder General requirements. Number 17, no plants or plant parts are permitted to be removed from the growing site until an acceptable THC below 0.3 is confirmed by the department's laboratory or written authorization is received from the department. Number 21, permittee shall assure that all cannabis plant material or products produced from them contain total THC levels of less than 0.3%. Third thing, the 2018 Farm Bill definition. Hemp. The term hemp means the plant Cannabis sativa L and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof and all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, and salts of isomers, whether growing or not, with a delta-9 THC concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. What does the 2018 Farm Bill say about testing? A procedure for testing using post-decarboxylation or other similarly reliable methods, delta-9 THC concentration levels of hemp produced. It goes on to say, state requirements differ, but many states, including Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Indiana, and California, use GC-FID, which is gas chromatography with flame ionization detection, as their method for measuring THC levels. Pennsylvania has used this same method every year of the program. While growers should be aware that quality control samples collected by PDA will be tested using GC-FID, when a grower engages a laboratory to test for THC to meet the obligation of testing required by the PA program, any reliable test method may be used by that laboratory. Laboratories should mail certificates of analysis to Kathy Thomas, Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, 2301 North Cameron Street, Harrisburg, PA 17110. However, if timing is a concern, a copy of the certificates may also be emailed to ra-plant@pa.gov in addition to the mailed copy. In Pennsylvania, if a hemp sample tests higher than 0.3% THC, a second sample is tested. If that again tests high, the department will work with the grower to determine disposition of crop. During the first 2 years of the program, only 2 samples have tested above tolerance on second testing. We want hemp permit holders to know that Secretary Redding has given his full support to the rebirth of the hemp industry in the state. The department looks forward to continuing to work with growers to ensure that the integrity of this crop is maintained so that Pennsylvania can be a national leader in this industry. Sincerely, the PDA Hemp Program Team. Well, there you go. We're all in this together. We all want to see Pennsylvania succeed. So, to reiterate what Corey Fitze said, the sky is not falling. All right, moving on. All right, so last night there was a hemp field day at the Penn State Research Farm in Lancaster County. And what a turnout. There were like almost 400 people there. They thought they had a good turnout last year with 160 people, but this year blew last year out of the water completely. Some of the attendees were permit holders and farmers, but it seemed like the majority of people were either thinking about growing hemp next year or they were from some other business ancillary to the hemp industry, or they were just simply curious. There was a series of speakers, most of whom you've heard from on this very show. For instance, Dr. Alyssa Collins, she sort of hosted the whole thing.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. I know some of you have come from quite a distance, and so I really appreciate that.
And then Sarah Pickle got up and talked about the hemp program from the Department of Ag's point of view.
We've had a little bit of changes in the program since I was here last year, to put it mildly.
Then we heard from Jeff Whaling and Erica McBride from the National Hemp Association.
My name is Jeff Whaling. I am the chairman of the National Hemp Association, which is the largest hemp advocacy group in the country.
And then Jonathan Steffi from Speedwell Forge Organics and Sue Fry from Future View Flowers. They got up and they talked about their operations.
So as of May 1st, we were not hemp growers. It wasn't even on the radar. All of a sudden, we are hemp growers, and we have 4 greenhouses.
What Sue's doing is really neat. She's growing for CBD inside hoop houses, like greenhouses. A little bit later, we heard from Steve Groff, the cover crop guy, and also from Ben Davies from Wild Fox Provisions. You've met those two already on this show. And Ben had some interesting things to say about harvesting and drying.
If you think your season's been challenging so far, get ready for a wake-up call in a couple weeks from now, because you have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. Harvesting is going to be the most labor-intensive, most timely, most busy time of your entire season.
All right, so just a heads up, I'm putting together, or at least I'm trying to put together, a show for the near future that is about harvesting for CBD and drying. Going to talk to a few different people about that. So those of you who have asked me about that, stay tuned. We're going to try to get you some valuable information. And also, speaking of Steve Groff, the cover crop king of Lancaster County, he's putting together a really interesting field day in a few weeks on Wednesday, August 28th at his farm in Holtwood, Pennsylvania. That's in southern Lancaster County. It goes from 9 to 3, and there's demonstrations with rolling cover crops and no-till transplanting, all kinds of stuff. And I hear that the Secretary of Agriculture, Russell Redding, will be there too. So anyway, you can register for that at his website, hempinnovators.com. I'll have a link to that on the show page for this episode too. All right, getting back to the Penn State Field Day. So there was also a discussion about marketing, and we heard from Jake Sittler. You remember him. He works with Floyd Landis at Floyd's of Leadville.
We've got some gummies here if you're looking to relax.
And he talked about their move back to Pennsylvania from Colorado, and then got into some marketing stuff, working with the different retail outlets.
Since the passing of the Farm Bill, we decided it was time to move back to Lancaster County. So I think we have, 41 farmers? 50 farmers, like 65 acres here. We are opening up a processing facility, and we'll be drying for all of our farmers at the moment. I know a lot of you here are very worried about what you're going to actually do with your products once it's done. So that's us. We're in Pennsylvania. We're in, I think, probably 600 convenience stores just in Pennsylvania alone. So we are rapidly expanding, looking for more and more biomass and actually stuff to put directly in our products, and we would love it to all come from Lancaster County.
So yeah, it was a super cool night. Lots of people making connections with other people. Saw lots of friends from the hemp space. I think I counted 15 people in attendance who have been guests on this show. And I met a whole lot more who are going to be guests on this show. I also met a lot of listeners, so that was great to connect with you all last night. All right, so now I need to admit something to you. All right, a few weeks ago, Jeff Graybill from Penn State, he was putting together the list of speakers, and he asked if I had any suggestions for speakers, so I sent him some names. But he also asked if I would like to get up and sort of plug the podcast. Right, which I was like, yeah, maybe not. But anyway, yesterday I sort of wrote out a couple of pages of what I would say if given the opportunity. And so I got there a little nervous, like, oh, am I going to be on the list, whatever. But turns out I wasn't on the list. They didn't have a spot for me, which is fine. At one point, Steve Groff gave me the shout out. I waved.
How many of you listen to the podcast? Eric, where are you? Eric Harlock, the man behind the voice with the cool music. There he is. There's the guy. Right there he is. So go say hi to him. But I appreciate what Lancaster Farming has done to be able to help us all get educated in this.
So that was nice. Thank you for that, Steve. So I did come prepared with, a very short speech, much shorter than anyone else's presentation there last night, I might add. Try to keep it brief. That's why you write it down first. Anyway, I don't want to really let it go to waste, so I'm going to give it to you now. Thank you for humoring me. Here we go. Hello, good evening. My name is Eric Harlock. Now, I am not an expert on hemp. I have no practical hemp farming experience, but I am the digital editor of Lancaster Farming newspaper. Now, those of you who are already in agriculture already know what Lancaster Farming newspaper is and how much it means to the farming community, not just in Lancaster County, but all over the state. And even from Virginia all the way up to New England, Lancaster farming acts like the connective tissue of the agricultural industry. So if you want to learn something or buy something, sell something, or check the markets, or just check how much milk your neighbor's putting out, you go to Lancaster Farming, because it's all in there. And those of you who are new to agriculture because of industrial hemp, I encourage you to check out our newspaper, because it's probably exactly what you're looking for, but didn't realize it. Anyway, I'm here tonight in my capacity as the host and producer of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast, which, as some of you know, is a weekly show where I talk to people in the hemp industry. Growers, researchers, policymakers, inventors, visionaries, but mostly farmers. I always try to bring it back to the farmer. I am extremely grateful for the chance to make the show. Industrial hemp is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When do you ever get to see an industry grow from the ground up? Cannabis is a gift, and I am thankful that I get to help tell the story of its return to the farm fields of Pennsylvania. So I try to focus on the Pennsylvania hemp industry. Pennsylvania is my home. I grew up here in rural Chester County, right next to a dairy farm that is now a housing development. But farming in Pennsylvania is very meaningful to me. So I try to focus on Pennsylvania, but I end up talking to people from all over the country. My goal with the show is to educate and illuminate. And I find that people in the hemp industry are uncanny in their willingness to share their knowledge and take the attitude of, we're all in this together. And I think this field day here tonight is a testament to that attitude. The folks here at Penn State, Alyssa and Jeff and Greg, and all the others, they've been very open and giving, and I appreciate their knowledge, and they're letting me share that knowledge with our listeners. I've already talked to many of you here tonight on the show, and it's made a difference. I hear from farmers all over the state and all over the country who are very grateful for the information we are putting out there. So I thank you. If you've listened to the show, you know that I am very excited about the potential of this crop to solve many of the problems that we're facing in the world today. From the climate crisis to our dependency on petroleum, to saving the family farm and giving people jobs with dignity. From reducing pain and inflammation to disrupting the for-profit healthcare system. With industrial hemp, I believe we can farm our way out of a lot of this mess and create a better world with a better system of values. Remember, we're all in this together. So I encourage you to listen to the show and to subscribe to Lancaster Farming newspaper if you haven't already. And also, I'd like to invite you to the 2019 Hemp Summit on October 7th and 8th at the Convention Center in downtown Lancaster. Lancaster Farming is co-hosting the summit with the Department of Agriculture, and there will be an expo full of vendors, as well as panel discussions between experts and farmers and all kinds of people. Plus, we will be taping an episode of the podcast from the reception on Monday night. So if you want to tell your story or share your experience from this first year of hemp production in Pennsylvania, you'll have a chance. It'll be an open mic night. I'll give you more details on the show as we get closer to it. And finally, if you aren't sure what a podcast is and would like to know how to listen, come see me afterwards and I'll show you how to set it up on your phone. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Great job.
All right, so that's the speech that never was. Anyway, it's all true. I am very grateful for the work I get to do. I'm very grateful for the people I get to talk to and the people that get to listen to those conversations. And I'm also very thankful for Lancaster Farming itself, because without the newspaper, none of this would be happening. Now, I'd also like to give a shout out to Lancaster Farming's new president, Peter Lindquist. He used to be our vice president a few years ago, but he retired. And a couple of weeks ago, our awesome president, Bill Burgess, retired. And Pete came back, and it's awesome. So welcome back, Pete. I don't know if you listen to this, but look forward to working with you and for you. All right, so that's pretty much the show today. I feel like we covered some good territory, brought you up to speed on some things, got some neat shows in the works for the future. Like I said, drying, harvesting. I've got an interview with a processor lined up. Yeah, don't forget about the summit. I'm actually putting together something interesting for that reception We're going to tape an episode there, and I think we're going to have a band, right? We need a band, don't we? So maybe, I'm not promising the Tinbird Shadow, but something along those lines. Anyway, my name is Eric Harlock, digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the best agricultural newspaper in the world. Get a subscription, lancasterfarming.com/podcast deal. All right, until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp.
This episode of the Lancaster Farming and Industrial Hemp Podcast, episode 45, is copyright Lancaster Farming 2019. Lancaster Farming is part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Harlock, with special thanks to the folks at the Penn State Research Farm for letting me record there. Also, special thanks to Corey Fitze that we heard in the beginning of the show, and any music you heard is courtesy of the Tinbird Shadow.